Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. And recently we ran a survey asking our audience topics that they want us to cover in future videos. A lot of you responded and a lot of you let us know that you wanted us to cover some basic information on starting and growing your own social media marketing agency. So in this video, I'm going to explain how you can get an agency started and off the ground in a couple of hours and for as little as $0 and be off and running on your way to social media marketing agency success. A really good idea at this point would be to save this video to your watch later so that you can come back and watch it in the future. There's going to be a lot of information in this video guide, so make sure to follow along, pause if you need to, and maybe grab a pen and paper if you think that'll be helpful for you. Let's go ahead and jump into the computer. All right, so let me preface this by saying it's 100% possible to literally do this for $0 in most places in the world. However, there might be a couple small expenses that you want to invest in, basically less than $50, just to make things a little bit easier for you, but I'll cover that later in the video. But for the topic of this video, we're going to approach this from the best possible way to start your social media marketing agency for the fewest dollar amount possible. As I mentioned, we recently ran a survey on our YouTube channel, Two Guys Build a Biz, on topics that you want us to cover in future videos. The results were surprising, and it turns out a ton of you are total beginners, so I wanted to make sure that we created this video as soon as humanly possible to get you all the help that you need. We review every single comment that you all make on our videos, so if you have questions or anything like that, definitely let us know in the comments down below, and make sure to comment on videos. This is how we learn what you all want and how to help you on your own agency journey, which is our biggest commitment on this YouTube channel. So for today's agenda, we're going to go over the basics. We're going to go over starting your agency. We're going to cover some of the legal stuff. We're going to get you a name and a domain, talk about a logo, create a website and email, talk about getting paid, and set you up for success in the future. Let's get started. If you haven't already, make sure to drop a subscribe to the channel, especially if you're into SMMA. That's what this channel is all about. So who am I? My name is David Schlase. I'm one half of Two Guys Build a Biz. And together with my business partner, Derek, we have decades of business experience at this point. Not just with our social media marketing agency, we've also sold millions and millions of dollars in products, services, and solutions prior to starting our own social media marketing agency. That said, as an SMMA owner, I'm now in my 7th year alongside Derek, and we've scaled our business to 7 figures per year. These numbers are totally crazy because when we first set out, we really only wanted to make $60,000 each, just enough to cover our living expenses at the time. We've also mentored thousands of agency owners through our program, the SMMA Blueprint, which is a top-rated program on how to start, grow, and scale your own SMMA or social media marketing agency. I'll link that down below in case you want to check that out. Furthermore, I'm obsessed with building businesses and vehicles that help me live the life that I want. Prior to starting my social media marketing agency with Derek, I'd become obsessed with business, I'd become obsessed with personal development, and I had become obsessed with this idea of a location-independent digital nomad lifestyle. Today, I've been able to achieve that. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably have seen me traveling all the time, living a really full life, and our social media marketing agency is the vehicle that enables that for us. So let's jump into brass tacks here. Once again, friendly reminder to make sure you save this video to your watch later because we're about to get into the good stuff. First of all, the only thing separating anyone watching this video from a successful social media marketing agency owner like myself or like Derek or like many of your peers that have started their own social media marketing agency is action. That is literally it. Entrepreneurs take action and they solve problems for other people. It's as simple as that. And at the end of the day, as a social media marketing agency owner, we solve the challenges of not enough time, scarcity of resources, or lack of skill set for business owners that know the importance of social media. That's literally what we do for business. The beauty of the social media marketing agency model is that it's something that is very inexpensive to get started with. It's very low friction to start as well, meaning that the overall barrier to entry is very low. And because it's a service-based business, this means that there's no overhead, there's no additional expenses or anything like that that are required in order to get the ball rolling with your own social media marketing agency. This means that there's really no less expensive business to start. The things that I'm going to talk about in this video, like a domain, website, email, incorporation, and so on, relate to every business that you will possibly need to start in today's day and age. It doesn't matter what business you start, you're going to need a website, you're going to need a name for the business. These relate to everything. The difference with social media marketing is that there's no additional expenses or inventory that are required to get started. The reason I mention that is you might go through this and you might think, geez, that sounds difficult. I wonder if I'm going to go try drop shipping instead, or I'm going to go try some other business vehicle. And what'll end up happening is you'll run into the exact same challenges that we're going to talk about in this video. So I'd highly recommend SMMA from personal experience, starting a bunch of other businesses as well. So let's talk about some of the legal basics. I'm definitely not an attorney or anything like that, so this is absolutely not legal advice, and I'd always encourage you to speak with a professional and not listen to some guy with a beard on the internet. That said, what I can do is I can share stories and examples of what I've seen other students do and what my friends have done when getting their own businesses up and off the ground. No matter where you live, you're always going to have some sort of local laws that you need to abide by, regardless of what sort of business that you're starting. There's really two types of businesses that really relate to what we're starting here. There's sole proprietorship proprietorships or sole traderships, and LLCs. These are usually used for businesses that have 1 or 2 founders, and they're businesses that you reflect on your own personal tax return without any complicated stuff at tax time. In most places, the cheapest option to get started with is going to be what's called a sole proprietorship or a sole trader if you're overseas. Basically what this means is that you're just in business for yourself. You use your social security number or your personal identification number, and that is basically the entity or the reflection of the business, meaning you're just doing business again as yourself. While it costs $0 and is oftentimes a lot more convenient, you do trade off a little bit of security that's offered by an LLC. LLC stands for Limited Liability Corporation, and basically what it does is it separates yourself from the business. This offers protections to business owners in case in the future anything weird might happen, like some sort of litigation from a future client or from a future contractor that you might work with. What I've seen a lot of students do is they start as a sole proprietor for $0, and then once they get their first client, they reinvest those earnings in their LLC. In most places, an LLC costs from $100 to $200, depending on where you live and depending on where you're incorporating. There are websites like LegalZoom and Rocket Lawyer which do all of this for you, but they do charge a premium for the convenience. So in short, a great option to get started with might be a sole proprietor or a sole trader, but definitely weigh your options. And then down the line, I definitely would recommend getting an LLC to have those additional protections and security. Again, it's unlikely that anything ever will happen, but it's best to be protected in case anything comes up. Really quick, here's just a source from nolo.com that I pulled down for my state in Arizona. As you can see, it states that you actually don't even need to register the trade name or give any indication to the state of Arizona, but it is acceptable business practice to do so. The filing fee is $10 and it's almost nothing to get that done, but again, it's not even necessary. There's something called an EIN that you might be familiar with, or an employer identification number, and this is only needed if you have employees, at least here in the state of Arizona. Because we're in business for ourselves, this means that you're actually not an employee. Unless you actually hire full-time employees instead of contractors, you might not ever need an EIN. We recommend working with contractors instead of employees for a lot of different reasons. The single biggest reason just being complexity and cost. So as long as you're working with contractors, you might not ever have to worry about getting an EIN. So let's talk about picking a name. So a lot of people get hung up on this and they get analysis paralysis when it comes to picking a name. No name is ever going to be perfect, and some of the biggest names in the world have names that really make no sense at all. What does Nike mean? If you weren't familiar with Amazon.com, would you ever think a company named Amazon would be one of the biggest retailers online in the entire world? Probably not. This just goes to show how unimportant a name really is. Make it relevant, make sure that it's not offensive, and you're good to go. A good option might just be to use your initials or use your name. Add social, marketing, or digital at the end, and you sound legit. Another option would be to use a name generator where you can input a couple of words that you want to use in your name, and it's going to generate some options for you. This is what we did when we created our agency, and we just kept tinkering with it until we found something that we liked. One thing that you're absolutely going to want to do is make sure that the name is available for .com. When you tell somebody your name in passing, or you meet somebody at an event, or you're networking with people in the future, if they hear your agency name, the first thing they're going to do is go to their phone and they're going to type in yourname.com. If you have a .org or .io or something like that, you're going to need to be more specific, and there's a chance that they might not be able to find you in the future. What I recommend doing is just going to Google Domains and seeing if it's available. Most domains are going to be available for $12. You can grab that and you're good to go. If for whatever reason the name isn't available, just consider adding another word to it. There's a good chance that will be available, and you can grab that .com domain name. You'll purchase that and you'll be good to go. Now, to loop back here quickly to the $0 to get started thing, it's entirely possible to not get a domain, to not get a website. Doing these things is just going to make life a lot easier for you. It's going to open up what you're able to do in terms of outreach, and it's going to save a lot of friction when people do go and try and find your website and they find out that there isn't one yet. Again, these are small investments of $12 to get started that are just going to save you a lot of time and pay dividends in perhaps getting clients more quickly. That being said, you can do outreach on Instagram and other channels where maybe they aren't going to necessarily go and try and find your website before agreeing to a call. So do with that information what you will. So now we've got our name and we might have our domain. The next thing that we can do completely for free is create a logo. So we like to use canva.com for pretty much everything in our business. And our first logo that we ever used for our agency was actually a Canva design logo that we used for the first 2.5 years and several $1 million in revenue. I'm not going to flash it up here because honestly it's pretty ugly, but it didn't hold us back from being successful. They've come up with thousands of different logo templates that you can now use, and there's a bunch of very aesthetic logos that'll totally work for you and your agency. What you're looking at here on the screen on the left hand side are logo options. I mean, there's too many to count, and I created the logo that you're seeing on the right for a make-believe DS social agency that I created in less than 30 seconds. I literally grabbed that HM logo that you're seeing to the left, selected that, swapped out the letters for DS, moved things around a little bit, created an agency called DS Social. That simple, that easy, and completely free. So now we've got our agency name, we've got a domain potentially, and we've got a logo. We're looking legit here. The next thing that we might want to do is create a website. So in today's day and age, there's really no excuse to not have a website, especially with as easy as it is to create websites these days. It's also so cheap. Anybody can build a website these days. It used to be that you'd have to custom develop and do all kinds of crazy stuff to create websites that looked good, and that's just not the case anymore. For between $10 to $30 per month, you can set up a Squarespace, a Wix, an I'm Creator site, be up and running, and be completely legit and good to go. The nice thing about these as well is they maintain themselves, so as a part of that $10 to $30 per month, the website's constantly updated in terms of aesthetic to make sure that it's running smoothly and continuing to perform over time. This is how we started. We started with a website builder called letterimcreator.com for $8 per month, and again, that website lasted us for the first 2.5 years that we were in business. We oftentimes actually got comments on how good our logo and how good our website looked, which is honestly hard to believe, but we even sold website services to some of our first clients after they saw our website. Another option is to use a couple of the one-click install templates that I'll give you in the description of this video down below that you can one-click install into Go High Level or ClickFunnels and use to build your agency. I've even got a video in the description on how to do that. These will definitely cost more per month, but they're also something that you can grow into. So when you're running a lead gen agency, which is definitely a model that we recommend, you might want to create what are called funnels for your agency. And with Go High Level, you're able to actually create and duplicate funnels from one client to the next with complete ease. For one single subscription to Go High Level, you can use it for all of your clients, and you can also use it for your own agency website. So while this might be a little bit higher cost in the beginning, it's also something that you can grow into. It might be a platform that you end up paying for in the future, and then you basically have your website built on a third-party site like Square, Wix, and so on, and you might want to rebuild that again in the future. So again, it can save a little bit of time just building it on Go High Level outright rather than building it on another site builder, but that's entirely up to you and whatever makes sense for your finances. Again, keeping in mind, it is possible to get started without creating a website and avoiding this cost altogether, keeping the total expense at $0, but in today's day and age, I think we can all agree that it might be best just to create a website. To give you all some idea, Derek and I created our name, we created our domain, our logo, and our website all in a couple of hours on a Saturday, and we had our first client paying us $2,700 per month less than 2 weeks after that. So there's a lot of value to moving quickly here and getting things up and running. Now let's talk about how to actually get paid for our agency. So we've got everything set up, we've started doing some outreach, and we've started having some good meetings. Let's say we get somebody that's open to working with our agency. The first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get a legal agreement in place. In the description down below, I will link to one of our legal agreement templates that you can use for your own agency. Again, keep in mind, this is not legal advice, so be sure to use that as you will. So we've got a deal done, they signed the agreement, what next? There's a couple of different options that we have here for getting paid for our agency. A great option is to use Stripe.com. Stripe.com is an invoicing and payment platform where you send clients invoices and they're able to pay through a credit card just like they would buy anything else online. It's quick, easy, clients really like it because of its ease of use, and the funds hit your account very quickly. The only drawback is because they'll be paying via credit card, there's a small 3% fee affiliated with it. We take payment from all of our clients via Stripe today for the most part, and we have found that the convenience of using Stripe, both on our side and the client side, means that the clients pay their invoices faster, we realize that revenue faster, and it just eliminates friction. It's well worth that 3% for us. Another option is Bill.com. We use this for some of our larger clients that have an accounts payable department where there's some more hoops to jump through in terms of getting our invoices paid. For this, the clients can pay via an online check or ACH, which is basically just a bank transfer, and be good to go. This does take a little bit longer to process, usually takes 5 to 7 business days for the funds to go from the payment being made to the funds being realized in our account, but there's no fee affiliated with it other than your Bill.com subscription per month. As of the time of recording this video, we pay $50 per month for Bill.com, and we definitely save that in terms of fees. But not every client's on Bill.com, and it can be a little bit more work for them to set up, so most of our clients like using Stripe. Option number 3 is the free option, and what you might be most familiar with, so it might be a good place to start, and that's just a paper check. Essentially, the client mails you or hand delivers you a paper check, you deposit it into your account, and you're good to go. It costs $0 and no fees for anything related to a paper check, so this can be a great option if you're trying to keep your agency getting started for $0. All right, so now we've got our agency up and running, we've got our first clients, we've got some deals in the door, or at least we're maybe on our way to doing so. The one thing that every entrepreneur has in common with every other entrepreneur, as I mentioned earlier in the video, is that they take action. If you've been watching this video and you've been taking a ton of notes, don't let analysis paralysis get in the way. Go start taking action on this immediately. You can do this. You can be successful with your own social media marketing agency, but watching one video after another video after another video and taking no action is not going to get you there. No matter if you're watching YouTube and going to YouTube University, or you decide to purchase a course to help you along your way, you're going to want to take action on the videos and the content that you're watching and start realizing the results from that action. Keep in mind, Derek and I got our agency started long before courses like the SMMA Blueprint ever existed, and long before YouTube channels like this were available. There was no blueprint, there was no guide to follow, below. It was just our own activity and our own action that got us to where we're at, and our own ability to continue solving problems that have come our way ever since. Entrepreneurship is really just solving problems for yourself, answering questions for yourself, and doing the same for the clients and businesses that you work with. This video is obviously quite high level, just giving you the basic overview. If you want in-depth training on how to execute on all of this in great detail, make sure to check out our top-rated program, the SMMA Blueprint, on how to start, grow, and scale your own social media marketing agency. I'll link that in the description of this video, and a good video to watch next would be this awesome video that Derek recorded on how to do outreach for your agency. Be sure to tap into that and watch that video next. Let us know what questions you all have in the comments down below, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.